Hello there, good evening. Welcome to a special episode of This is Gravel. We've been receiving a lot of good questions leading up to Dirty Kanza, and we wanted to address those so folks were feeling confident and good, right, going into the big race?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have that. It's in 2 weeks, and so we thought we better answer the questions now so you can better prepare.
Yeah.
And
so
he made me do it. So.
Yeah, made him do it. As always, our lovely producer, Matt, has given us a card. We have not seen these questions beforehand. We don't know what you're asking, so that usually leads to some pretty on-the-spot, honest answers.
Absolutely. Go first.
For better or worse.
Are you going to read first?
I guess I'm reading.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Casual Cyclist. 2016 will be my first DK, and I'm signed up for the DK 100 half pint. Because of work and other life stuff, I've not trained as well as I'd planned. I've only been able to ride 2 times a week. I'm getting a bit nervous, but I still want to participate in the DK. What advice would you have for me?
Have fun. He doesn't say the 2 rides he does a week. He doesn't say how far he's ridden. But let's assume 20, 30 miles a week. Which is good. For the DK 100, the thing you have to remember is you have a 50-mile race, is how I picture this. Meaning, you have a time limit to get to the first checkpoint. And it's important that you think about the first checkpoint first and foremost. Because if you don't make that, then you don't get to go on and the race is done there. If you make that first checkpoint, it's important to leave the first checkpoint. It is very easy to mentally focus on the 50 miles, and about 35, 40, you're exhausted, you're tired, and you're saying, I'm just going to stop at the halfway point. I don't care what time I get there. If you roll in and you're under the time, then you get back on the bike and roll out. You can rest and recover on that second half. You can take a break on that second half. I'm not saying you'll make the time limit for the 100. You never know. You do have to ride. But if you can make 50, then you have a great shot at making the 100.
Yeah, absolutely. You and I have talked about training and kind of addressed this very thing on a previous episode, episode 2 or 3. If you haven't seen, I definitely encourage you to go back and watch that. And I think even on that episode, you talked about you've finished a DK 200 on some pretty minimal training, right?
I did, absolutely.
I guess it goes back to this is certainly very achievable. If you've got the mental fortitude and you're feeling tough, you can finish the DK 100 on pretty light training. I certainly don't recommend it, but if that's where you're at, then that's what you've got to go with. So
you're going to have decent weather.
Yeah.
Decent weather, and you need to be really stubborn.
Yeah. But from a purely training perspective, I guess my advice would be this. Try your best to up your frequency a little bit. You don't have to try, at this point in the game, you're probably not going to be able to get in a lot of mileage, nor would I recommend you really increase the volume in any one particular ride. I would try to do more shorter, frequent rides throughout the week. Even if it's 30 minutes. I know life can get busy and things get hectic, but find 30 minutes 3 to 4 times a day, at the very least, 30 to 60 minutes, and try to increase your fitness that way. But you're not going to be able, this late in the game, with 2 weeks to go, it's not like you can go out and ride a 75 to 100 mile ride and think you're going to get a huge boost in your fitness at that point.
Get any benefit
You
from
probably hurt yourself a little bit more. So that's the advice on that one.
Perfect. Good luck. Second question. Protein powder is used by weightlifters and such. Any benefit for people on bikes?
Well, these guns that we're carrying around. I guess the question is weight training in general and using protein powder as a supplement for that. It can certainly be done. I would only recommend it if strength specifically is a weakness, meaning if you're feeling a real lack of power climbing hills and you're wanting to introduce some free body weight stuff like some freestanding squats or lunges and that sort of thing. It really depends on what your motivation is and what you're trying to accomplish with your weight training. For cycling specific, obviously we're not going to focus a ton on from the waist up. But in cycling in general, it's about power to weight ratio. So truthfully, my recommendation would be to get yourself as strong as you can and as lean as you can. Protein is certainly an important part of our diet, so you want to create lean muscle mass. And some protein powders can help you accomplish that.
I would use it as, and I have used it as a dietary supplement.
Yeah.
not for specifically building, muscle mass.
Yeah.
So,
And there's a big distinction between, there's some products that are weight gainers, that are high calorie supplements. And so I would stay away from that.
okay.
Okay. Oh, this is a great question here. Where do you pee while on course at DK? I know men don't care about this, but this female does. We did get this question in advance, and we didn't feel that we were probably adequate to answer that question. So we got our good friend Christy Moan to weigh in on this subject. Christy, let's hear what she has to say.
To read the question to you, the casual cyclist, on a long ride like the Dirty Kansas, how does a female rider handle nature breaks? On a long ride like the Dirty Kansas, this is why I don't wear bibs and I wear shorts, because if I need to take a nature break, it's got to be quick. And I would say trying to find a tree, and if not, you grin and bear it.
Thank you, Christy.
You're welcome.
Awesome. She does a great job, doesn't she?
Yeah, and I would say, even for the gentlemen out there, even though it's a little bit easier for us to take a nature break on course, you still should be very respectful about where you choose to take that nature break.
Especially for the other riders. Okay. We're working our way right through these.
Yeah, loving it.
We're doing
Great
great.
questions.
All right. When should you come out of the saddle during climbs? Is it okay to stand frequently?
Yes. Ooh, that's a great question. In fact, I'm hoping in the future we'll address this with some footage as well, because that's a topic I'd love to get into a little bit more in depth. But the short answer is you should only come out of the saddle for a couple of reasons. If the road is getting steep and short, or if your butt just needs a break. Other than that, you should do your best to stay seated. You're going to be most efficient in your pedaling power while seated. You're going to have most traction on a gravel road when you stay in the saddle. And for those two reasons alone, you should do that. So the only times it becomes a little bit more beneficial is when the pitch really gets steep. But if you're on gravel and it's a steep pitch, depending on how loose the rocks are, you still may want to do your best to grind it out in the saddle.
I used to think that coming out of the saddle was the most efficient way to get up the hill, and I will tell you, you will wear yourself out quickly. Chances are chances are very high that you are in the wrong gear if you're having to pop up out of the saddle. Now, if you are in the last gear you have in coming out of the saddle, then there's really no other option at that point in time, which I have been there many times. I will pop up out of the saddle if I'm in a gear and I'm charged up the hill and I'm almost at the very top of the hill. I mean, right at the crest, and I just want to knock that little bit out. I'll pop up and over and keep on going rather than trying to downshift, because I have so much tension on the chain at that point in time, and I'm at the top basically.
Yeah.
But that's just a little short burst. So.
Yeah, that goes back to the shortness. The shorter the little climb, if getting out of the saddle helps you keep that momentum up, then absolutely it's fine. But you don't want to be standing, slogging it out for a long period of time, because it is more efficient, like we talked about. The reason why getting out of the saddle and climbing out of the saddle feels a little bit better is because you do get to throw your body weight into it a little bit more. But it's highly inefficient, and you're going to get a short burst of additional power, but you're going to fade a lot quicker as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, how long do you rest at each checkpoint during the DK 200?
Ooh, I got good answers for this one, because I've done everything.
Remember, there's always the how long do you and how long should you.
Oh yeah, okay. Okay, so how long should you rest? If you take the theory of resting on the bike, then meaning that if you're tired and your legs are exhausted, you can always coast downhill, and you can always soft pedal on the flats. So the thought is that you're still moving forward, and so you can rest on the bike. So if that is your theory, then you should be coming into a checkpoint, refueling, and moving on. Not even getting off the bike if you don't have to. I mean, there's really no point other than stretching your legs, move forward, and rest and recover on the bike. How often do I? My first Dirty Kansas was in 2012, and I remember I sat at the halfway checkpoint for probably 45 minutes trying to mentally talk myself into getting up and moving on. And sometimes you have to. That's when your support crew has to come to your aid then, because it is so easy to sit down and talk yourself into staying. You have friends around you, they're all drinking what they want to drink, they're all eating what they want to eat, and that finish line party sounds pretty damn good when you're 8, 9 hours, 10 hours into a race and you got that long of a time period left. So your support crew has to make sure you get back up.
Yeah, and not only is it tougher mentally, it's harder on the body. Your body doesn't know that you're at a checkpoint. If you get off the bike and you're stopped there for 5 to 10 minutes or longer, your body thinks you're done. They say, hey, great, let's relax. We're done doing our work. And then 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes later, however long you've sat there, and you get back up and you try to get back on the bike, and your body's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I thought we were done here. So it's a lot harder to get the legs moving and get the legs going after you've sat for a while. My personal recommendation is to try avoid sitting at all costs, because once you go down in that chair, oh, it just feels so good, and it's going to be a lot harder to come back out of it. But again, it really is just about assessing your priorities and what you're trying to achieve at the Dirty Kansas. If you're okay with taking a little bit longer at the aid station and you feel like that's going to help you in the long run, by all means do it. But generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, shorter is better.
Sure. And remember, we're coming up with these answers on the cuff here, reading from the card. You know, you may be riding with a buddy, and that guy may be 5 minutes behind him, and it's more of a, you want to finish, but you're socially riding with some friends, and you know, in that case, it's okay to wait up for the buddy. Mechanicals. You really want to keep that chain lubed, so you may have to get off and do that too. So in reality, you may have to spend a little bit longer than you want, but get back on the bike and go.
Yeah, and for the support crews out there and the riders, riders, ask a little bit of your support crews. Talk with them beforehand if they've never crewed at an event like this, and let them know in advance what you need from them. Let them know that you're going to come in with empty bottles and you'd like for them to put new bottles onto your bike. Really get them helping you out, so that really your job as a rider is to stand there and unload, and their job is to refill your nutrition and hydration supplies, and that'll help speed things along as well.
We could do a whole segment on support crews.
Oh, absolutely.
And we'll someday.
We'll need to have that coming up. Okay. Oh, is it your turn to ask the question?
My turn.
Oh, fine.
What are your thoughts on different tire sizes? I like to run a 40 millimeter up front and a 36 in the rear. Are there any downsides to this?
Well, there's no strong downsides per se. In the world of gravel riding, I would certainly recommend wider is better. I think a 38 or a 40 is a really smart choice. A lot of people get into the debate of rolling resistance, and I think that conversation is better suited for the pavement, because the conversation on gravel is more about traction. And so I really believe you can actually go faster on rougher gravel with a wider tire, because you have better traction, meaning your tire is going to stay connected to the ground better, and ultimately that's what you want. If you're on a narrower tire and you're getting bounced around on the gravel and you're losing traction, you're having to work harder to keep that wheel propelling you forward. Some folks don't have or they have the ability to run a wider tire up front. And so maybe they're trying to run the widest tire they can, but they can do a wider tire up front and they can't do as wide on the back because of the geometry of their bike. If that's the scenario, that's certainly fine. I think in that case, it could be advantageous. We know most of your cornering traction is going to come, especially in the loose stuff, out of your front tire anyways. So that's the better place to go wide. You'll have better traction in the loose gravel in the more technical sections, and so you can get away with a slightly narrower tire, or the max width that you can put on the back.
I agree. As far as, the question is, are there any downsides to running a 40 millimeter and 36 up in the rear? I think you've answered that. The second part of the question was, what are your thoughts on different tire sizes? And it's absolutely whatever your goal is. I mean, if you're in a race mentality, we can debate this question all day and all night, because everybody is going to have their idea, their brand of what is going to specifically get you from point A to point B as fast as possible and safely. If you're in more of a social mentality, which, we have half a crowd that is and half a crowd that is one way and half a crowd the other, social mentality, then it's whatever is going to give you the most comfortable ride. Because in reality, for a lot of us riding these gravel events, the difference between a 8-hour finish and a 9-hour finish on a 100-mile bike ride, tires don't mean a difference as long as they're not getting flats.
Yeah.
So it's more of a comfort factor.
Yeah, a 35 is not going to save you. I mean, we're talking even over the course of 100 or 200 miles, maybe a minute or two. It's just not, it's not huge. It's too small of a difference to really make a big time gap.
No, I will say that even on a casual ride, weather specific and gravel type can make a difference on what type of tire you can do.
Yeah.
For instance, the Land Run.
Exactly. I was going
want
to say,
tire clearance.
normally I would say go as wide as you can, but at Land
Land
Run,
Run, if there's going to be a high potential for mud, then you want as much clearance as you can get. So on Land Run, I switched to a tubeless setup, and I went with 32s, I believe, for that one. Normally, I'll do a 38, and I'm fine. But that one, I went as small as I could, just trying to get as much clearance as I could, so I could ride through more of the mud. Whether it helped or not, I don't know, but I felt like it did, and mentally, it got me through it faster.
well, know your terrain. I mean, down there in Stillwater, it's a lot more mud, and the gravel's not as sharp as what we have up here, and so you can run a slightly narrower, maybe less durable tire than what you would want to choose for Dirty Kansas. So know your terrain and do your research and start to learn about different tire options, and
Absolutely.
choose the tire that's best suited for the event you're doing. And if you don't feel like swapping tires out all the time and you want one set that's gonna last, go durable and wide, and don't worry about having the narrowest, lightest, fastest tire, because that's not going to save you time when you're on the side of the road changing flats.
That's true. Okay.
Oh goodness! Apparently, the folks need to know, casual cyclist, bikini or whitey tighties,
Any day of the week,
any day of the week.
like right now.
Yeah. We don't need to see.
You're not gonna see. My wife
You
would
need
get
to check.
Carrie would get mad if I showed.
Is your
I
name?
do have to check because I never know. Today is Thursday, and sometimes I forget what I wear on Thursdays. Bikini.
Bikini?
Sure. No.
Yeah.
No, it's not bikini. Are you kidding me?
You're a whitey
It's not
tighty
whitey
kinda guy?
tighties either. It's whatever you call it, the sports style or whatever.
Boxer
The
briefs, a
Boxer
little
briefs kind of
combination of
thing.
both?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Well,
I'm not opposed to the bikini, I guess. I could.
yeah. Boxer briefs most of the time. Banana hammock for the special evenings for Christina. She really appreciates that.
That's an image that I will never get out of my head. Matt?
Box briefs.
Boxer briefs, he
Boxer
says.
briefs for producer Matt.
Are they anything specific?
Nope, not really.
I mean, sometimes I feel like sporting the Hulk. Sometimes I feel like sporting the Spider-Man. Sometimes it's kind of a Minions kind of day.
Sometimes it's leopard print. Sometimes it's tiger stripes.
I could never pull off leopard print. Make sure and visit the Gravel Guru Facebook page. We have a Caption This contest that'll be going on. Our
This
friend,
picture right here.
This picture right here. Our friend Jeff Young is giving me and the camera a cheesy grin. You can't see me in the picture. I'm actually about 3 feet behind him, giving him a very evil stare during this ride. But picture this, caption it, send us what you think, and we have a prize pack that we'll be giving away. We'll be giving out a Goo hydration kit and a chamois butter tube lube.
Yeah, Jeff seemed way too happy considering everyone else was suffering.
That's because Jeff was riding with me all day, and he had an easy day.
Yeah, so let's hear your thoughts on what Jeff was thinking.
All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.